But yeah, let's first introduce everyone on stage. So my name's Alec McCabe. I'm one of the customer success managers here.
I'm Anna Islos, one of the customer success principal in EMEA.
And with us is Jamie Tickner, whose actual title has more abbreviations than words. But
I'm a living acronym.
so let's dial into it. So you're a senior vice president of worldwide global services. Did I forget anything else?
You did. Global service channels as well.
Not tossing renewals
Global
in there
service
just for
channel
fun?
programs, I should say, yeah. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. And how are you finding it still?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's interesting, right? I mean, one of the main reasons I love IT so much is it's an ever-changing environment, right? It's never the same, and whatever you know, yes, you might evolve with it, but the truth of the matter is it's going to keep changing. And if you don't like change, then you're in the wrong profession, totally, in my view. But that's one of the things I've always liked about it, and one of the things I will continue to like about it. So,
Perfect.
because of the amount of period of time I've been here, pretty much done everything there is to do in services, right? With the exception of customer success, actually, until we took that on many years ago. So that's probably been my biggest learning curve in the last 5 or 6 years, is understanding and getting my head around that and the customer journey. And a lot of stuff you do, but you don't realise you're doing it, or you're consciously doing that, or you're consciously aware of it. Some of it's just a bit instinctive. But once you start to deconstruct that, I think that makes a hell of a difference, certainly to me and your thought process. And let's face it, I'm not getting any younger, people. I might look like a young prince, but my dancing days are nearly in my past.
Well, we did actually want to speak about your dancing days and how you actually went about it.
How did it start?
Yes, recap a bit of your career for us. Just introduce yourself to.
Okay, so how far do you want to go back, people? Which decade? Because, when you're born at the beginning of the 60s, and you left school when Margaret Thatcher came to power in 1979.
And the school got closed by Thatcher right after?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I was anything to the fact that she got in, but she stayed there for a long time, that's for sure. So I left school at 16. I didn't want to do university. I kind of got a bit fed up with learning, really, at 14 to 16. The reason I was a bit frustrated with it is I wanted to learn, but I wanted to learn with a purpose. And once I found out learning was just about learning just to pass an exam, but there was no real purpose to it, I fell out of love with school. And to be honest, it pretty much fell out of love with me, because I just kept on getting sent outside the class because I was debating why I needed to know this stuff, right? Not anything I'm very proud of, and not anything I've ever shared with my children until they left school, I can assure you.
We are recording that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So, but all of my children are above 18 now, so that's good. What I loved about, I started an engineering apprenticeship. I wanted to be a toolmaker fitter. And what that meant was going to tech for 4 years, day release, and learning about how a business works. So even though I wanted to be a toolmaker, I worked in finance, I worked in the draftsman's office, I worked in the tool room, worked throughout the entire factory, and it lit me up because what I was learning was relevant to what I was doing. And so from there, I did that for 6 or 7 years, including my aspiration was always to be a leader. I always wanted to be a leader. I don't know why. Maybe because I don't like being told what to do. I don't know. What do you think of it? Do you think I like being told what to do? Might have something to do with that, right? So to the extent that when I was 21, I wanted to be a leader, and they wouldn't let me be a leader because they said, you haven't got enough experience. So I decided to put my name forward to be the shop steward responsible for all the workers there, primarily because I questioned the person that had negotiated for 4 or 5 hours, and they told me that nothing really came out of the conversation. So my response to that was, well, you're not very good at what you do, are you, if that's the case? And he said, well, if you think you can do any better, why don't you apply? So I did. And next thing you know, I'm the shop steward representative for all of the tool makers, maintenance fitters, whatever else it is. And I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that interaction with, then it was called personnel, obviously now it's HR, with the factory management, with a whole raft of people working together collaboratively to get some outcomes. And I did that till I was about 22, 23, and then I had this really bizarre meeting in a car park. It was during the daylight, I might add. It wasn't like some clandestine evening event or anything like that. So I basically met someone in the car park, and they said, well, you're an engineer, aren't you? And I said, yeah. Why is that relevant? He said, well, I work at American Express in Brighton, which is the capturing billing operation for the whole of Europe, Middle East and Africa. He didn't actually say that. This is me telling you what it is. And he said, we're looking for engineers. And I said, well, I come from an electromechanical background. That's computer stuff. I don't know anything about that. And he said, no, it is electromechanical. You know, would you be interested in going for an interview? And I thought, I won't hear anything else. On the Monday morning, I get a call from someone saying, can you come in for an interview in the afternoon? So I go in, and there are these machines. I can only describe them as they're about as long as this room, and there's 5 of them in this massive, great big area. Now, I'm showing my age here, but does anyone realise why credit cards are embossed? Well, they've got a raised piece on them. So back in the day, before we had the internet and all that kind of stuff, you plugged this credit card in, and it had like loads of bits of paper and copy stuff, and you go like this. And then you'd get a copy, they'd get a copy, they'd send a copy off, and there was another spare copy. God knows what happened to that. But that was called the record of receipt. And so the record of receipt had to be captured. So what would happen is that it would come in, and it would be fed into these machines that are like 100 foot long, and it would read the account number, bar spray it, film it. Then it would go upstairs, and then there would be 500 people sitting upstairs because the machines couldn't read handwriting, so it had to be handwritten in. So this original record of receipt that you got would be processed through these machines. You'd have a header, name and address, the actual record of receipt, and then a total of all the stuff behind, and that would be sent back from a billing perspective, which was just absolutely fascinating. So I basically went there on the Monday for an interview, looked at these machines and said, this stuff must break down all the time. And they said to me, yeah, it does. We have to pay a tool maker and a fitter an absolute fortune to build this stuff from scratch. I said, well, if you've got a lathe and a milling machine and a this and a that, you could do it yourself. They went, well, we don't have anyone here that can do that. I said, if you employ me, you do. And that's how I got into the IT industry. So, and that was, good God, over, must be 40 years ago, just coming up 40 years. So that's how I started my career. Sorry it was a bit long-winded, but it was a very random way to get into the profession, and I have loved every minute of it ever since.
So the key point is hang out in car park and talk to people in the dark.
No. I've been told to keep away from car parks since then. Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give them
Do
a
not
wide
write
berth.
this one down.
Yes. Sorry. By the way, that was the abridged short version. I could have gone into a lot more detail, but you were looking a bit, is he ever going to finish this anecdote?
Yeah, exactly. What we wanted to talk to you about a bit here as well, based on the theme of the event, is let's think about a few of those pivotal moments where you had to make a decision and you decided, okay, I actually want to take my career this way, or I want to be this. Have you consciously did it? Did you write something down? Did you have an image in your head of, besides of, I want to be a manager?
Well, I've always wanted to be a manager, and I always wanted to progress, because I believe that we're all a work in progress, and we're pretty much in denial if we think otherwise. Other people will expect us to be that, even if we're not on that journey. I think one of the things I learned earlier on was I used to get very fixated on, I'm in this role, and that's the next role that I want, and it's that or nothing. But then you fall into dead people's shoes, because you kind of go in, well, until they move on, I can't do anything. So what I did was consciously thought to myself, I want to go towards an area, but not a specific role as such. And Erica alluded to it earlier on. It's like, it's not all about up and to the right. It'd be lovely if it was, but it really isn't. It's up, it's down, it's left, it's right. You go all kinds of places. But you know what? If it's changing scenery, you're learning. And in an ideal world, when you make those decisions, they're things that help you grow but help the company. There's not going to be too much go wrong with that. They're not that easy to identify. You can find one or the other, but if you find the Holy Grail, which is both, that's the way I'd like to progress. And that's how I coach and mentor people typically around.
Let's move a bit to our kind of area of expertise. You've been in F5 now for 24 years. You've seen the dot-com bubble. You've seen the financial crash. You've seen the launch of cloud. We used to have BlackBerry on the floor below us, right? They're gone now as well, obviously. Could you describe kind of how that evolution worked for F5, what we went through, and what are you looking forward to in the AI space?
You know, we had some luck along the way, like any company does. And, you know, for 24 years, which is, as you probably gathered, over half my working life has been at F5. And some of that luck was, I'll give you a typical example, right? TMOS was a massive thing for us, right? And we used to have this technical guy, like head of engineering, who basically used to travel around the back with a theoretical rucksack on his back, picking up features and functionalities. That's how we ended up with a product that had 1,700 features on it, right? Which is good and bad in equal measure, right? Because you can do great things, you can also do really stupid things, and we've given them the vehicle, you know, to be able to do that. So I think that's challenging as well. But probably the biggest pivot actually was, for many years we were talking about Viprion, and we had a guy that headed up PD that just loved hardware. He's the reason why we would end up with a 4-blade chassis, an 8-blade chassis, a 16-blade chassis. I always used to think it was a bit like the razor. You know, you're going to end up with an 84-blade razor that you just stick on your face and you wouldn't have to do anything. He just got so wrapped up in that stuff. And everyone was going, do you know what? Why the hell is he so obsessed with this stuff? Look at the computing powers in it. And every year he'd bring it up on the stage and he'd pull a cover off and show you the flashing lights. And you're going, great, but who needs it? And then all of a sudden, these babies come out and everyone's going, beep, beep, beep. And that's the lorry backing up. Give us some more of that Viprion stuff. Give us some more of that, right? Now, I'd love to tell you that that was our master plan, but it wasn't. We just captured the zeitgeist of that. We were in the right place at the right time with the right product, and we made hay from that. And I think things like that, as much as you can plan, you also need to have a little bit of luck sometimes as far as that's concerned. Not just in your company strategy, and I'm not advocating that everything's luck, but also in your personal life as well and in your career development, take that chance. You know, it's a fork in the road. What's the worst that can happen? You'll learn way more from any mistake you make than you ever will from the stuff that you expected to get right in the first place.
Well, we were also looking for future guidance, Jamie, and this is financial advice.
Oh, I'm the last person to ask that, I can assure you of that. I'm brilliant at spending it, and I've got a whole family, including 4 kids and 3 grandkids, who are even better at spending it than I am.
So Jamie refuses to answer the question. We can continue on.
Well, what financial advice are you looking for?
No, I was saying more in terms of how would you see AI actually influencing what we do?
Oh, AI, sorry, right,
Yeah.
okay. AI, come on, man, that stuff's going to fix everything, isn't it? I mean, world peace, I can't believe we haven't plugged it in already. But I think the challenge with AI is, you know, it's all about data and how good your data are. And the stuff that we're foraying into now is data that's, what do you call it a bit? Unstructured. I was going to say uncharted. I don't know why, but unstructured data. Well, we are the king and queen of unstructured data. But how do we make sense out of that? What is that telling us that we can't see today? Is it going to give us early indication of likelihood to churn? Even better, is it going to give us early indication of likelihood to expand without actually having a human touch within that, right? So unfortunately, when you go down that route, you do have to kiss a lot of frogs. And I think that's the space that we're in now, and that's the space that a lot of organizations are in now. But when you find that prince, you know, you can better believe we're going to double down on it. And that's kind of where we are at present.
Yeah, thank you for this. Very insightful as well. You've mentioned before that customer success is one of the parts of global services that you haven't touched before. Could you describe us as the frog you're actually thinking of kissing now?
Obviously, in a purely platonic manner, as if it was your mother, of course. But I think myself and my team, and what's interesting about the renewals team is where they're gravitating to is to be that CS. You know, that whole land, adopt, expand, renew. It becomes embedded, it becomes religion, but you have to always think that way about it, about the customer experience. And I think we were a little bit too guilty, and well, there's the number, we just hit the number, you know, and we'll just take the victory lap because we did the number. It's far more, you want to do the number, but you want to know how you did the number, and more importantly, did you leave anything on the table? And if you did, what can you do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Thank you, Jamie. And as we have on those advice in terms of your career, did you have any model, like mentorship or people? How did you pick up people that inspire you to move and take advice? Who do you rely on?
So that's an interesting one, actually, because I think your whole life is about mentors and mentees, but it's not necessarily structured always, right? I mean, how many times have you found yourself thinking, I love the way that person goes about that, or the way they dealt with that. I'm going to put that in my backpack and I'm going to use that because that'll work for me. Conversely, you'll look at other people and go, Jesus, what did you do there? That was a super slow-mo car crash. I'm not going to go anywhere near that. And any of you that know me know that I have been involved in many super slow car crashes, right, in my time. But I think that's the whole point. And Erica made a brilliant point earlier on, which is you've got to tease what people know and where they want to go and what they want to do, because you're in a no-win situation. If you did do what Erica said and give them do A, B, C, D, and E and come back and see me if you've not done that, then whatever doesn't happen isn't their fault, it's your fault because you haven't given them the solution to the problem. And some of the most challenging things you do, some of the things that stretch you the most, you look back at them and think, wow, that really made me grow as an individual, right? But it also helped the company as well. And it also, if it's done right, inspires other people to go on that journey and not be afraid of that journey.
And so without thinking about a specific person that was there through the whole time, is there something that you keep with you like that happened? A very bad slow car crash or a very good advice that you keep remembering, that you're keeping in mind when you're faced challenge or you don't know what to do?
Yeah, I mean, there are, but the one that, I don't know why, it's really simplistic, but it really, really sticks with me, is wanting to be a leader. There's a great level of responsibility for that. And I think the best way or the simplest way that's ever been explained to me is, remember, if you're a leader, it's equally as easy to lead them in the wrong direction as it is the right. So if you decide you're going to go over the hill and you end up having a middle name called Lemming, well, you're all going off the cliff and everyone's following you, right? That's not a good juju, right? So for me, simplistically, that's some of the stuff that I live by. And I've got a very binary black and white father in the sense that everything with him is it's either 0 or 1. There's no in between with it, and I've inherited some of that inherently, right? But I don't think that's a bad thing, because I try and simplify it down as much as possible as to the messaging and what I think and why I think it.
So if you had to mentor someone or give advice, you would keep that about your mentoring into could be the right direction, the wrong direction. Is that your final advice?
I think with mentoring, you have to do a lot more homework than some people want to do. Some people, again, don't just want the advice, they want you to pick the person that's going to give them the advice. Whereas, you've got to become very aware and honest about your strengths and your weaknesses, right? And I think we all know our weaknesses. It's just a question of whether we're prepared to look in the mirror and acknowledge them as such. And then it becomes really easy then, because then you look around at people and go, well, I'm really rubbish at this, but who do I see in the workplace that really excels at it? And I want to go and have a conversation with them. Trust me, they will be extremely flattered that you've thought of it in that way and structure it in that way and speak to it in that way. Because what most mentors really desire is, what is it you want to achieve out of this? What does success look like? And if you don't do the homework on that, I spend a lot of time, probably 50% of my mentorship conversations are just trying to get out of them, what do you want to achieve from this? Because trust me, you can have a lovely chat with me once a month for an hour and you might be enlightened, you might not. But if you're not going to get anything out of it, then why go down that path, quite frankly?
That's great advice. The last part would be about habits through your career and development. Is there healthy habits or unhealthy habits that you're keeping that are helping you reach out your goal?
How long have we got, people? How long have we got? I
notes,
do have
writing down, reading books, setting goals, or?
So I'm not an avid reader. It's primarily because I was diagnosed as being dyslexic when I was about 14, 15. Up until then, another reason why I didn't go into academia as well, because it kind of made me feel like I was the dummy in the room. But what I've realized looking back at it many years later was, it's actually a superpower. It's a superpower if you choose to view it that way. And so when I first got into IT, Erica touched on again the imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. And then you look 10 years down the line and go, well, I might not be good enough and I might not be that, but if that was true, why would I be where I am now? Why would I be doing what I'm doing now? So you have to have that conversation. So I've read a similar book. Someone's told me about a similar book that they read, and I just picked out the nuggets because that's what I do. I'm like, and it's called Your Inner Chimp, right? Your inner chimp, the voice that's on either side. I think the cycling team, the Great Britain cycling team, used the inner chimp. I think for me is, you can have an inner chimp, you ain't going to get rid of it, just don't let it become an inner gorilla, because that's when you got a problem. You know, if you over-obsess about it, Mark Twain said, I spent most of my life worrying about stuff that just never happened, right? We all do that. It's because we care, right? And because we care, we can over-care and we can over-fixate on it. And it's that whole adage of any strength overused can ultimately become a weakness if you go down that path. And so you just have to be more aware of, you know, yourself and stand in the mirror more. And anyone who knows me will know no one stands in the mirror more than I do, not necessarily just to see what I'm looking like.
Okay, so sounds like a bit of a ego checking. I'm good
Yeah,
at this. I recognize. Okay. Thank you very much for all of that.
Pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much, Jimmy, for the chat.
I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.